The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert Show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from experts on such topics as legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to our experts in community association law, estate planning law, tax relief, Medicare, public insurance adjusters, neuropathy treatment, business brokers, and personal injury law, along with many other topics. Now here's your host for the last 17 years, Steve O.
Hey, good morning, Houston. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show where, like the man said, for the last 17 years, we have brought you the finest experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Today, and it's actually my fault today, while we're waiting for our expert, we're going to be talking about community association law. And for those of you who don't know what that means, that is if you live in a HOA or a condo and you have an association, you have all kind of bylaws. And there's so many people who live there who don't understand. And there's people who are on the board that don't understand a lot of the laws. So we're going to be, she'll be joining us shortly. I just had to email her the correct link to come onto the show. While we're waiting, this is the Ask the Expert show. We have been airing for 17 years. I know people are saying, wait a minute. Podcasting hasn't been around for that long. You're right. We started with local radio stations. We were on 30 stations across the country and mostly all weekends. This is one of the things that I love about podcasts. Most people listen to radio during the week. So we never had our largest audience because all of our shows were on the weekend. All the big companies would gobble up all the weekly shows. Those are mostly all the talk shows. And we had to basically take the weekends. Now with podcasting, I can have all of our shows are Monday through Friday. And that's when most people listen to podcasts. So I was so glad that we moved over about 3 years ago, found one of the greatest companies with W4CY TV. And one of the first things I noticed was how great their producers are. We have two of the greatest producers that keep me in line, keep our experts in line. Like I said, we're waiting for our expert to come on. And I just need to, our show is live. So it's amazing when you have a live show, all the things that are, that go on. And I just noticed I sent the wrong link to our next show. I cannot believe I thought today was Tuesday. I thought today was Wednesday. It's amazing how you get your days mixed up. And I am so good at mixing up my days. I'm hoping that our expert guest will find my new email. And why I'm doing that, I'm trying to get ready in the middle of our show, trying to get ready for our next show. Hello? I can hear you. Okay. Rebel, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I thought I heard another voice coming. I thought it was our expert. We're waiting on. This is totally my fault. I cannot believe I did this, and I'm trying to keep this from happening again. Hello? Trying to keep this from happening again. So I'm also looking for my link for our next show. Anyway, I want to get back to our Ask the Experts so people understand. Oh, I think she's on with us. Hello, Shannon. Totally my fault. I am so sorry. For some reason, I was thinking today was Wednesday. It definitely is not. Good morning to you.
Good morning. I'm sorry I had the wrong link and then I wasn't sure of the day. I'm really sorry.
It's totally my fault. Shannon, we have got so many new listeners. Tell people about Lang and Associates.
Sure. We're a small law firm here in Houston. I formed the firm about 10 years ago after leaving kind of a big law environment. I worked for some international law firms doing really big work, but decided I wanted to do something, a little more personal where I could have more direct contact with clients. And over time, we just developed this community associations practice. We now represent dozens, hundreds of homeowners associations and condo associations throughout Texas, largely in the Houston area. And we, really pride ourselves on providing good service, being respectful and kind to our clients and to homeowners, and really trying to support our communities as they try to improve their, standard of living and property values for their members.
Shannon, what is, you have a lot of associations that you represent. What is some of the biggest questions that you get on a weekly basis?
The question we get most of the time is, can they really do that? In relation to any number of HOA issues. And generally, unfortunately or fortunately, the answer is yes. Homeowners associations do have a lot of power and authority, and that's largely because they are considered voluntary. No one's forced to move into a deed restricted community. Nobody has to choose to be in a community with a HOA. But that being said, everybody really hates their HOA until the neighbor paints their house pink, or, one of the kids takes up drums, and, you want some help. But can they do that is something we hear a lot. What we're hearing a lot recently, what we're having a lot of questions about are short-term rentals and emotional support animals. Those are big issues that we talk about a lot with our communities as well. With respect to the former, can they ban short-term rentals? Yes. With respect to the latter, do they have to accept my emotional support animal? Well, under some recent changes to federal regulations, maybe not. And so we're spending a lot of time talking to our clients about those things.
People don't understand how running a board, an association, is like running a major company, isn't it?
It definitely is. We have communities that have multi-million-dollar budgets, and we have communities that have budgets in the low five figures, and they still have a lot of things they need to do with all that money, and a lot of documentation and transparency and communication about all that. It's very much like running a business. And that's why we think it's so important that our communities have good service providers, good management, good law firms, good vendors, because it's very easy to be taken advantage of.
I tell you, another question that we get is people who are thinking about running for the board, and they all want to know the same thing. What kind of requirements should they have? What kind of background should they have to run for the board? All right, did you get that? Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm having a little connectivity problem, but really what we tell people is you're only information about their personal interests. And if they're able to do that, if they're able to separate themselves from broader good, they're generally good board members. It helps if you can get multiple people. It helps being part of a lead argument. There's no requirement to have a background in accounting or law or complete that. And we would hate for people not to run for the board because they think that they have to have some special expertise. Are you a nurse? You could be a great board member. Do you work with computers? No problem. Are you interested in serving? You're probably going to be a perfectly good board member.
Shannon, we get this question a lot. We just got this from our TikTok about HOA. Can you enter a property without permission?
Yes, often you can. The place to start is always the deed restrictions. For a subdivision, your deed restrictions could very well provide that the board or representatives of the board have the right to enter, to inspect, or to do forced repairs. The key is to look in your documents. With condos, almost certainly. And the reason for that is just the different way that condos are constructed and sold. With condominiums, you really only own the interior of your unit. And then everything else on the property is owned in common with the other members. And because of that shared ownership structure, the condo association does have a lot of right and power to do things to ensure that a unit isn't negatively impacting the rest of the community. So there is almost always a right to enter with a condo. That being said, they can't just come in the middle of the night. In the absence of an emergency, there needs to be notice and opportunities to cure. You should often, they often will want you to be present. But at the same time, you can't prevent this from happening by just digging in, refusing to open the door, what have you. If they have the right to enter, they have the right to enter.
This is from YouTube. I have been watching all your shows on replays. Today's one of the first days I could watch it live. Can my association keep me from renting my house?
Possibly. Again, the place to start is always the deed restrictions. Now, the open question is whether you can be prevented from renting altogether. There's some case law in Texas that suggests that the ability to rent is a core right of property ownership. I haven't seen this challenged, but where we do see challenges or where we do see activity from HOAs are with things like rent caps, where a limited number of homes in the community can be leased at any one time. And if that cap has been reached, you would put on a waiting list. Those have been upheld as valid as long as they're in your deed restrictions. There are also rules in some communities that require the owner to live on property for some period of time before they can rent. Those have been held enforceable. And of course, prohibitions on short-term rentals have been upheld all the way up to the Texas Supreme Court. So you very much can be limited. And one thing we think is important for people to understand is if you're buying a property with the intent of it being an investment property, because particularly if you want to do a short-term rental, don't do it in a deed-restricted community. Because even if you can do a short-term rental now, the deed restrictions almost universally provide that they can be amended. And if the members amend to prohibit short-term rentals, you will not necessarily, almost certainly, you will not be grandfathered in, and that use of the property will have to stop. The courts have held that you can't reasonably rely on a forever grant of the right to short-term lease if the documents can be amended. You're always on notice that things can change. So read the documents before you buy.
This is a question we also get a lot of people asking. They all talk about how their assessments have gone up this year a lot. And they want to know, is that legal?
I'm sorry,
They
I
want to
missed
know if
part of
that's
that you cut
legal
out. Is what
for
legal?
assessments to go up as high as they have this year.
Oh, again, you'll always want to look in your documents. For subdivisions, most deed restrictions that we see will have a cap on how much the board can raise assessments without a vote of the members, but not necessarily. And for condos, that's really rare. And right now with condo, you probably are seeing some pretty substantial increases in assessments because of changes in the market in the last few years. And this also, of course, is impacting subdivisions. We're seeing increase in labor costs, increase in material costs, and the insurance industry really drives a lot of costs in the HOA market, particularly again with condos. I think we talked about this before. Gulf Coast condo insurance has become very difficult to get for properties, very expensive, and so you're seeing that change. The other thing that that our condo clients are having to prepare for is that there are going to be coming changes with Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac mortgage requirements, where starting January 1st, the mortgage, in order to get a federally backed mortgage, the mortgage companies need to look at condo documents and ensure that at least 15% of assessment dollars are going into reserves. Very few of our clients are currently doing that. Really, very few of our clients are adequately funding reserves anyway. And so now, in order to have access to those types of mortgages, you might be seeing 15% less economy here.
This is Martin in Sugarland. Thank you for offering a show like this. It's so important that we understand ins and outs of being in an association. My question is, I want to run for my board, but I was told that until I'm caught up on my assessments, I'm not allowed. Is that true?
I'm sorry,
Did you hear that?
Steve. I'm having really rough connectivity.
Let me try. He wants to know if he wants to run for his board. Can you hear me, Shannon? Okay. Shannon, can you hear me?
On and off. It's really bad.
Okay. Let me try again. A gentleman wants to run for his board. He owes some assessments. He was told he could not run for the board until he was caught up. Is that right? Is that true?
If he's in a condominium, very likely yes. Again, check the documents. In a subdivision, the Texas Property Code has trumped provisions in the deed restrictions that prevent people from running if they are delinquent in their assessments. So if you're in a subdivision, no, they can't prevent you from running. That being said, if you get on the board, you should almost certainly be excluded from any communications about the assessments that you owe. That would be a conflict of interest. And we would certainly not encourage anyone to get on the board because they think they can influence an enforcement action against them personally. That would be the wrong reason to get on the board. But if you're in a subdivision, yeah, no, you can run and you can vote. You can't be prohibited from running or voting just because you are an enforcement.
Here's a good question right here about these doorbell cameras.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have to put a sign up saying you're recording if someone approaches your house?
No. Texas is a single party consent state, which means that as long as one person to a conversation is aware that it's being recorded, there's no obligation to tell everybody else. Many people now have these Ring cameras. The key is to not point them into somebody's window. There's no expectation of privacy outside or in common areas, but you can't be putting cameras trained into somebody's backyard or into their windows, you could expect that the HOA might step in and address that. But no, I mean, I'm not aware of any requirement to post signage that someone's being recorded.
This is from a Houston police officer. He said, I normally drive my car home, and I want to know, I've been told I can only have one car, and I cannot use my police car as in parking. Can they and my board do that to me?
Well, I mean, I always give the same answer, which is start with the documents.
Right.
You know, there are frequently prohibitions on commercial vehicles in restricted communities. I will say, leave our client's special vehicle that we could be required to be kept inside a garage. Now, with respect to only being allowed to have one vehicle, I have to understand a little bit more about what they're being told. If you're in a community where you're only assigned a single parking place, then I suppose, yes, you could be required to park any additional vehicles outside. Generally in Houston, most single family homes have to have 2 dedicated off-street spots. And HOAs can require you to park in your garage and not use it as storage, but use that for car storage. It's not unusual at all for there to be rules surrounding parking. But the key is to start with the documents.
Shannon,
So
how do
the answer is maybe.
how do people reach your office? Shannon, how do people reach your office?
Absolutely. You can call us 832-479-9400. We do answer the phones. If you get our voicemail, it means every person in the office is on the phone, but we will call you right back. And we have a website, shannonlanglaw.com. We welcome phone calls from owners and boards. We're happy to chat with people and happy to see if you're looking for new representation, if we'd be a good fit for your community.
Shannon, I apologize about we do a live show. I was watching Fox the other night, and even they, with all their sophisticated equipment, they freeze up. But Shannon will be back again with us next month. Shannon, thank you so much. Have a wonderful week. Hey, watch out for that weather. We're in hurricane season.
That's right. Thanks, Steve. We'll see you next month.
Lang and Associates. We're going to go to break. We'll be right back.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.